Hello Virgo, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, illustrated by Mark Evans. At the bottom here is the website, llewellyn.com I think is what's there. And there's Ellen Dugan and Mark Evans' names again if you're interested. Of course, freeze frame if you need to for the information. Supportive Oracle cards, Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards by Tori Hartman, illustrated by Gretchen Raish Baskin. Websites on the back are torihartman.com, watkinspublishing.co.uk, and watkinspublishing.com. Feel free to freeze frame on any of that if you would like to search that information out. What do we have for Virgo? So something's good. Yeah, there's good, but like exactly what in what way? I think of Virgo as more patient than most. Not in the sense of like, I don't know. I feel like you guys are more patient than most signs. Earth is usually more kind of like, I'll take my time with it. I like hearing about what's coming. I like to prepare for what's coming. I don't know why we're going there, but the type of surprise I feel a Virgo would like is like somebody making their favorite meal for them and they weren't expecting it. Maybe something like that. But you're not into big surprises. Is that right? Or am I wrong? I might be confusing you with another sign. Because I'm also seeing this over here. There's something about, what appropriate surprises are and what they aren't. There's appropriate surprises and there's inappropriate surprises. I feel like is there like a conversation being had with this? I feel like there's some type of conversation. I don't know if that triggers something, but certain things are appropriate, other things are not. Something I think, this is in the past, but I feel like this isn't bad, ironically. I guess it depends on what part of the story you're in when this reading comes towards you, if this reading hits for you, of course. There's something in the past that I feel like I accepted that wasn't going to be for me. And when I accepted it wasn't going to be for me, I just stopped thinking about it, for the most part. I just didn't put too much into it. I just didn't worry about things too much. Maybe I still wanted it, but I was like, well, it doesn't look like that's going to be for me. Is there a little bit more information we can get with that? The energy is kind of gentle. It's kind of like, yeah, I want it, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen for me. Page of Pentacles and the Death card, but it's coming in upside down, which I'm an intuitive reader. When I'm getting it for your reading upside down, I'm getting like it's something that wasn't ready to start. And it's not that it was unattainable, but it's kind of like, how do I put this? It's kind of like when you're starting out working and you're thinking about retiring, you're like, well, if you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you're like, I can't wait to retire, but that's like a notable amount of decades away, you're like, well, and then you're thinking with my family history, it may not happen at all for me. That's kind of morbid, but there you go. Especially if you have people in your family who go well into their 70s and 80s and they still keep working. I think we have a few families like that. I want to say I had a person in my family who was like that. They got into their 70s and I think they stopped before they hit 80, but they kept working and kept working. That's what they wanted to do. So it might be one of those things where I don't, in my family we don't really do that. It might be one of those things. I don't know why we're going there, but that subject's popping up. So whatever it was, I didn't feel like it was going to happen for me. For some of you, it may be having a family. It may be a relationship thing. It may be a certain level of work experience. Like maybe I wanted to be like this certain level. I wanted to be a CEO. But as I got into things and saw the reality about how it works, I'm starting to think, or I seem to have thought to myself, well, that's not going to happen. Something like that. Like it wasn't like a completely outlandish idea. But it was at the time, is like when I started feeling out how I really work in the world and how the world is really treating me, I started to believe that wasn't going to happen. Are we cool? I was like, do I have to beat anything else with this? Do I have to beat off anything else? Because there's a surprise. This is what fell out. Okay. When I was shuffling, a card fell out face down, and I pretty much forgot about it until I was like looking down, and I'm like, why is that there? You got your Ace of Pentacles. Whatever it was, there's a version of it that is coming forward. I have 1,000,001 analogies, which I'm kind of shocked at, but this is the one I'm going to give you. So, for example, say when you, maybe 10 years ago, more or less, whatever, you wanted to be an entertainer of some sorts, but then you're like, well, the way this is going, especially if it's 10 years or greater, it just didn't seem like it was catching on. It wasn't working. It was costing a lot of money and not showing a lot of dividend. So it's kind of like, I just accepted, like, yeah, I have some talent, I can do this or I can do that, whatever it was, just for an analogy. Maybe you can sing, maybe you can act, maybe you have instrumental talent, maybe you can paint, maybe you can do anything, whatever it was, some type of entertainment. And you're like, yeah, even though I have what I feel is enough talent to make it happen, it's just not catching on for whatever reason, so I'm thinking maybe it's just not going to be for me. So I'm just going to use singing as an analogy just to make it simpler. Probably more for myself than the people listening, but So you were good with singing, you did some of this with singing, some of that with singing, it just didn't catch on, it didn't take off the way you wanted it to. So you went some other direction with it. Or, maybe you just let it go dormant. Maybe you let it go dormant. But now it's kind of like the talent is still there, it's still waiting. And nowadays, maybe there's different platforms. Maybe you won't be, selling out stadiums, but maybe you could start making a nice amount of money off to the side with it. I feel like there's a lot of talented people here who make money, but it's like a comfortable second job. It's kind of like really nice. Maybe they work on it when they want to. They enjoy it. They make enough money to not only support and get stuff with it, to keep promoting their art form forward, but they do make a little bit of a comfortable living with it. Maybe it's not their main income, but maybe it's a nice little side income and they enjoy it, so it's very satisfying. I've seen that happen a lot. Like, it kind of shocked me that there's people out there who are very talented, but they do it on their terms, especially if they do it online. They have some things people can purchase and they make it on their own, but they feel very fulfilled, and it's kind of like more controlled. Like, they can do it when they want to. They don't have to do it, but they very much enjoy it when they do. Because something like that is what I see this Ace of Pentacles, because the Ace of Pentacles has been dormant. It feels to me like it was planted in the end of the end of the spring. No, it was planted like sometimes where I am. You plant tulip bulbs in the fall, and then they come up the next spring. So it's kind of like that. That's the analogy I'm going for. But I'm kind of like, it was planted. Maybe it was planted in spring, and it just didn't bloom right. It's like the leaves came up. So maybe you planted tulips in the spring, just for argument's sake. The leaves came up, the flower didn't. And you're like, well, all right. I mean, the leaves came up, but it didn't go far enough to where I wanted it to. And then, since then, that talent, using the plant as an analogy, went dormant, went through the winter. You couldn't see it. I forgot about it. It was there, but I didn't really expect it to bloom again. Your plant is blooming again. Your talent is blooming again. It's coming forward on this Ace of Pentacles with the Ace of Cups, which tells me it's coming in a way that you want it to. You do have talent, but I feel like we also have to dust off. We have to dust off the situation. We have to clear away the dust, because there might be a moment here where you clearly have talent with something or whatever it is you want, but it's kind of like, now I have to get back into it. I have to get used to it again. This reminds me of somebody I know who said they used to be very talented with guitar, but they've been out of it for so long that they're having a hard time playing it. But then they got playing it for a few months and they got back to where they were. I don't know how many months technically, but they said they had to play it for a few months before they really started catching that groove like they used to. So it might be one of those moments, because I see impatient, like, the hard part is knowing you can do something and knowing you've done it before, but then dusting off the instrument and getting used to it again, and getting your body used to it again, getting back into that rhythm, remembering all the things you used to remember, rediscovering things that maybe you've forgotten, stuff like that. There's a period here of rediscovery I'm getting with all this, because the Emperor knows what he's doing. The Hanged Man is telling me it's not coming forward as quickly as expected, But in the impatient, it's kind of like, but I know I can do it. I don't understand why it's not working the way it should, because I have done it before, so I clearly can do it. Dusting off the instrument. It's kind of like dusting off the instrument. That's what I'm getting. You got a lot of success coming in here. It says passion, but I keep thinking talent. But however, however it applies to you, you got a lot of good energy coming in here. It's just giving yourself a break and realizing you have to give yourself time to reacclimate to what it was you wanted to do. That you kind of put it down for a while, and now your body has to reconnect into those rhythms. They are there, though. The neural pathways are definitely there. They may have just been, off to the quiet land. They may have been sleeping for a long time. They just got to be re-woken up. But the longer you use them, the more you get back into it, the more they're going to reignite. Once you feel comfortable, I feel like that's when you have more things coming in. You're very much in control of what comes in next with the situation. There's a different viewpoint. However you did it before versus how you're doing it now, you definitely have an evolved viewpoint. You've learned a lot of things. And there's a lot of control here about what I'm willing to come forward to, what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do, something like that. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to be here just, people want to give me work or people want to give me an opportunity and I'm falling over myself because I'm lucky that they want to give me a chance. I'm not going to play that game. Maybe you did play it in the past. Maybe. But this time around, it's kind of like, you know what, I'm going to pick and choose what I want, and I'm going to let it be what I want it to be. I'm not going to be subject to what other people think it should be. I feel like that's good. What are you doing, bud? Can we not? Can we not? Okay, thanks. Is this advice or how you're going to do it? There is a little bit of a fear of rejection, but I feel like when you do this on your terms, the more you start enjoying it just for yourself, the more successful you get. So looking for other people's approval isn't going to work. Approving what you like and you getting your own approval, that will work. Especially because Virgo can be critical. I feel like you guys know that. Virgos can be perfectionists. You're probably the most... Of anybody who's going to be hard on themselves, you're going to be the hardest on yourself, is what I'm getting. Page of Cups and the Empress. I do see... This feels to me like one of those things where there's a daily connection. So if we're going to use the singing situation, maybe once a day, maybe it's 15 minutes a day, you're putting a little bit of effort into it. There's a certain time of day, maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's a half hour, but you're putting some effort into it. I feel like it's a daily thing because it's bringing in that pattern. It's reigniting the past. It's also creating new pathways for the future. But it may be like anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour a day, whatever this passion is. The thing is, it's something you like. So I feel like once you pick it up and start doing it, it doesn't feel like, oh, I've only been doing this for 5 minutes. I got to do it for at least 10 more. It doesn't feel like that. I feel like once I pick it up and start doing it, I feel like it's only been 5 minutes, and I'm like, wow, it's been a half hour. Like, ooh, I didn't realize I was spending that much time on this. I have other things I got to do now. It might be one of those things. Because I see that there's this repetitious pattern. Virgo seems to naturally get these patterns going anyway, especially if you like something. Definitely stick with the pattern. I see like I want more to come out of this than it is. It's not growing as fast as I want it to, which is interesting. Because even though you are patient, it's kind of like, but I know what I can do, and it's not there yet. And it does seem a little bit frustrating. Other people want to control this. When they start seeing you do this again, other people are going to want to step in and control this. Do not allow that. Let me just make sure that I'm getting that correctly. You're stronger doing this on your terms, not on somebody else's terms. The Sun card and the Eight of Pentacles. Somebody sees you as a very lucrative possibility. Eight of Pentacles is kind of like you have a lot of talent, you have a lot you know, a lot you can do. There's a lot of people who are going to be interested in this. The more you can keep this under your control and you do it the way you want to, and you're the executive, you're the CEO. Maybe you have a version of an assistant, but that person is your assistant. You have to have total control. If somebody else starts moving this forward for you, it could return to where it was. It could end up going back to dormancy because you could end up burnt out because they are pulling this fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow thing. It could end up being just something that you don't love as much as you could. If it stays in your control, you're the CEO, again, and maybe you have some people who are kind of that assistant role, however that works, you know what I mean, where they're following your lead. You're saying what will happen, what won't happen, and they're following your lead. That's successful. But if somebody else, for example, if you're a singer and you have an agent, they'll have you doing things that you won't really want to do. They'll convince you that this is what you need to do. It might end up feeling more like a job than a joy. Let's just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. If you're in control, if you're the CEO of this situation, you do a lot better. Because I see you as the leader. It is going to be a little taxing, a little stressful, but that's where your true stress, that's where your true success is. It is stress. There's some stress there, but nothing that you can't handle. If you hand that stress over to somebody else, you're going to get stressed. You're still getting stressed, but in a different way, and it might burn you out and you might walk away from this because it's kind of like, you know what, the way it's going, I don't think it's worth it. I don't want to do it anymore, so I'm going to disconnect. If you stay in control, you still enjoy it. There's some things here that you got to balance out and take care of that you don't really care for, but as long as you're the one in control, it's worked out the way you actually want it to happen, not the way somebody else says you need to do it. I think if that makes sense. Hopefully I made sense with that. All right, I think we're there. I'm going to shut this down here. Hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Same email. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.